Well, it's a very warm welcome and thank you for joining us on this independent off-tube studio commentary. The game at the City Ground has just got underway as Nottingham Forest take on Brentford. Forest in last place on 9 points, Brentford in 11th place on 15. But actually, if you were to look at how Brentford have played away from home this season, this is the sort of game that Forest will certainly fancy against Thomas Frank's side. Forest, of course, beating Liverpool last time out at home, and they'll feel in a very good mood this afternoon, especially as Brentford are missing their main striker, Ivan Toney, who is suspended after picking up his fifth yellow card. So certainly from Forest's point of view, they'll feel as though 3 points are in the offing. Brentford, on the other hand, because they have been so poor away from home, they'll look at the fact that they're playing the team in last place and think that potentially this is a game where they could try and turn those fortunes around. We'll wait and see how the game develops. It's myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz and Ben Rogers taking you through the action. Ben, potentially both sides should be going for it this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm expecting a real open game, Paul. And you've just mentioned there, Nottingham Forest is really good home form. 8 of their 9 points they've picked up in the Premier League so far have come at the City Ground. Brentford's poor away form. They're yet to win away in the league this season. So something's got to give here. For Nottingham Forest, they'll feel like this is a really good opportunity to pick up 3 points, to build on their last home game, which is, of course, that brilliant victory over Liverpool. And for Brentford, it'd be a big opportunity for them to pick up their first 3 points on the road this season. Absolutely.
Brentford's last away game started terribly, but around about this time against Aston Villa, they're already a goal down after about a minute and 20 seconds, so they've already done better in this game, but they're being pressed here inside their own half. They're playing out from the back now down the left-hand side. Rico Henry does find Keane Lewis-Potter, and he's off down the left. Henry carries on down the overlap, puts an early ball into the box, which is well dealt with by Scott McKenna, and he puts it out for a throw. A chance here for Brentford to try and put some early pressure on the Nottingham Forest defence. This is one of 4 games kicking off at 3 p.m. this afternoon in the Premier League. You've also got Leeds against Bournemouth, Man City, Fulham and Wolves against Brighton. All those games are available on our service, and if any goals happen in those games, we'll let you know. Getting word that Leeds have already got a penalty inside the first 3 minutes against Bournemouth, so we'll let you know whether Leeds United have converted that. But here at the City Ground, Brentford with the throw. It's Jensen going back towards Rico Henry, and his attempted cross into the box is charged down. The ball goes all the way back towards David Raya, who then clears it long over the top looking for Mbeumo. That's over his head though, headed away by Aurier. Picked up in midfield here by Josh De Silva. Just to remind you very quickly, Dean Henderson is in goal for Forest. The back four of Serge Aurier, Steve Cook, Scott McKenna and Neco Williams. The 3 in midfield are Ryan Yates, Remo Freuler and Cheku Kuyate, with Morgan Gibbs-White, Emmanuel Dennis and Brennan Johnson as the attacking 3. We'll come back to the Brentford side because here come Forest now on the attack, and there's a chance. The ball gets towards Brennan Johnson at the edge of the area, and his strike is a bit of a tame effort straight down the middle, but what will worry Brentford there is just how easily Forest started that attack. It started on the halfway line, they just got through that half very easily.
It started with Brentford on the ball, and it was a real poor giveaway. I think it was from the fullback, Ruslev there, and he gave the ball away to Morgan Gibbs-White, and he drove through the midfield, and then he finds a nice pass to Brennan Johnson, shifts it onto his right foot, but in the end it was a comfortable save for David Raya. But it's really poor sort of play from Brentford there. No real pressure from Forest either. They were sitting off, and Brentford just architects of their own downfall.
They certainly are. The Brentford team for this afternoon is David Raya, back four of Mads Roslev, Ethan Pinnock, Ben Mee and Rico Henry. 3 in midfield, Matthias Jensen, Vitaly Janot and Josh De Silva, with Brian Mbeumo, Yoan Wissa and Keane Lewis-Potter as the attacking 3. I can tell you that Rodrigo did convert the penalty for Leeds, so they've taken an early lead. They are the first goal scorers this afternoon in the Premier League. Perfect start for Leeds. Of course, they scored inside the first 5 minutes away from home at Anfield last week as well. Goes well for Jesse March's side, but Ben Mee sending a slightly short ball back towards David Raya. Raya does get there, but he was having to really chase out towards the edge of his own box. Rico Henry now off down the left-hand side for Brentford, being harried here by Brennan Johnson. Uses Keane Lewis-Potter, played back towards Josh De Silva. And Brentford certainly trying to see the ball early on here, but they're struggling to make any kind of inroads. And Forest just picking off a bit of loose possession, already had a chance to get towards the Bees penalty area. Played back towards David Ryan out, looks up and sends a long ball over towards the right-hand side. And Mbeumo does well, heads that one back, but it won't be picked up here by Jensen. Chance here now for Forest. It's with Emmanuel Dennis on that left-hand side, back towards Neco Williams. And he sees Wissa approaching, so he goes back towards McKenna. Now Steve Cook able to find a pass down the right-hand side for Aurier, being closed down here by Lewis-Potter. But Forest now, no surprise, they're just trying to see a little bit more of the ball as well in these first 5 minutes. Ryan Yates, though, is caught in possession there by Vitaly Janelt, and suddenly Brentford have players over here, and Mbeumo gets to the edge of the area, just dwelt on it a bit, but Janelt plays it back here, and there's a ball coming in towards the penalty area, headed up in the air at the edge of the 6-yard box. Wissa then trying to fight to get the ball back for Brentford, but in doing so, just a little bit too physical there on Serge Aurier, and our referee Andre Mariner gives Forest a free kick. But just as Brentford a few minutes ago, Forest now guilty of being caught in possession.
Yeah, Yates just being too slow on the ball there. Janelt's really strong in the tackle, isn't he? And then Mbeumo just delays the shot, and when it was probably on through, and in the end the shooting angle closes. It's a really good cross in actually from Rastlev on that far right hand side, but in the end it was a good bit of defending from Steve Cook just to get the ball up and away, as you say. But again, Nottingham Forest this time caught just sleeping at the back.
Well, perhaps it just shows that both sides have got a little bit of nerves early on. As I say, neither side in great form at the moment. Or Forest did have that famous win against Liverpool, and that was 2 weeks ago. They had a 5-0 hammering away at Arsenal after that as well. And Brentford, a little bit of a tame draw against Wolves last week. Having taken the lead, they conceded an equaliser within 2 minutes. But here come Forest now with Morgan Gibbs-White switching play over towards Dennis. He tried to be clever there and play that first time towards Kouyaté. Didn't quite work out, and now Mbeumo brings the ball out for Brentford. Finds De Silva on the right-hand side, being really harried there by Ryan Yates. And Yates is pointing towards the linesman as if to say, well, the linesman's given a throw on, but the referee, Andre Mariner, isn't really too bothered about what Yates or indeed the linesman think. He feels it was a foul. And Brentford have taken it from at least 10 yards away from where it was supposed to be, but the referee doesn't seem to mind. And Ben Mee now over towards Roslev on that right-hand side. So just the one early goal so far. No early kickoff in the Premier League today either, but there is a 5:30 kickoff between Everton and Leicester City. As Brentford try their luck now down the left-hand side with this ball from Henry. And Lewis Potter's chasing this one all the way to the corner flag, keeps it in play, and has Henry on the overlap, but that was always a hopeful ball, really. Aurier could see that one coming a mile off, and he gets there first, and then he draws the foul from Rico Henry as well, and that will be a free kick to Forest.
Yeah, I think the ball from Lewis Potter was just the wrong one. It was cute, it was clever, and as you say, it was never really on. I think the cross actually opened up to him because Rico Henry had made that overlapping run. It drew Aurier away from Lewis Potter, and then Brentford had a man over. So I think the ball from Lewis Potter should have gone into the box towards Wissa, even though it was the two centre-backs of Nottingham Forest that were marking Wissa. If the ball was good enough, he probably could have found him, and the overlapping run of Rico Henry wasn't really on. Wasn't
enough space, was there? It was pretty much just 5 yards of space to work in there as Kouyaté does well, wins the ball back here for Forest, and now a chance here, bringing the ball forward is Frula. Gets it in towards Johnson. Now an overlap here on the right-hand side, and it's with Serge Aurier. Gets to the edge of the area, but Lewis Potter is back there trying to help out in defence, just exchanging a quick pass with Ryan Yates. Back in towards Remo Frula. Swiss international under a bit of pressure there, still able to find a pass back towards Steve Cook. Speaking of Steve Cook, his former side have just equalised at Ellen Road. It's a bright start in that game as cross coming in from the left-hand side, but the ball is, although it was aimed at Emmanuel Dennis, he barely gets a touch on that really, and it's just in the arms of David Raya.
It wasn't a bad ball from Steve Cook. It was really lofted towards the back post, and Kouyaté does really well to get a lot of length on that header back across goal, and in the end Dennis just can't quite meet it. But the Brentford centre-halves there, Ben Mee and Ethan Pinnock, they both were sitting off Dennis. He had quite a lot of space in around that 6-yard box. If Dennis made contact there, it could have been a real worrying sign there for David Raya in the Brentford.
Yeah, it was all too easy from that point of view. As you said, it would have been a real good assist with the head there from Kouyaté. But here come Brentford now with Mbeumo down the left-hand side. Into Wissa. That's been a very open start to this game. Both sides finding some gaps in their opponent's defence. Just to confirm that it was Marcus Tavernier that got the goal for Bournemouth. So 2 goals inside the first 10 minutes at Ellen Road. But here come Brentford now as they win it back. And it's Mbeumo breaking in. Finds Wissa. Wissa with the strike. Or the ball to him was just a little bit behind him. And although Wissa does get a shot away which deflects out for a corner, he would have loved that ahead of him just to really put his laces through.
It's really poor from Mbeumo because Brentford win the ball back really well. And then they've created an opportunity out of nothing really. The Forest defenders at 6s and 7s. Really nice flick from Wissa. And then Mbeumo's running. He's in behind Nico Williams. And the ball, he's got Janelt, Jensen and Wissa to aim at, but it's behind all three of them, and then like you say, Wissa can't really get the ball out his feet, and his shot's blocked by Steve Cook and behind for a corner, but he'd just be hoping he could have done a bit more there.
He would have liked to have got a slightly better ball in there, and Mbeumo, as I say, he's another player that Thomas Frank always counts on. And he scored a couple of big goals for Brentford this season. He's had a couple of big assists, but I think Brentford fans want to see just a little bit more end product from Mbeumo at times. It's an out-swinging corner here into the 6-yard box. Just gets a flick away before it's quickly played up towards the halfway line. And Emmanuel Dennis could have been away there for Forest, but staying back on the halfway line, Rico Henry, who is still hopeful of a late England call-up potentially, although, as I say, there's only a couple of weeks now until the World Cup starts. We've also got an early goal at Molineux as well, haven't we, Ben?
Yeah, Brighton have taken the lead. Paul Molineux, Adam Lallana's with a goal. So Adam Lallana with a rare goal nowadays, of course, in his career, and they lead at Molineux. Of course, Wolves recently appointed a new manager this morning as well, but if he's not in the dugout, Julian Lopetegui to this.
No, as I say, it's a big appointment that for Wolves. I think they confirmed about 3 weeks ago that Steve Davis would be their manager until the new year. And then they got hammered by Leicester City, I think, literally a day or two later. So I think that perhaps the board might have thought, might have to rethink that particular strategy. And they've got Lopetegui in, somebody with certainly plenty of managerial pedigree. He's going to need it as well, because Wolves do have a fair few problems in their squad. But here come Brentford down the left. They've certainly made the brighter start here after 10 minutes. Forest have had a couple of forays into the Beast half, but really it's the visitors in their change all black strip with the multicoloured squares on the front. Looks like a set of post-it notes there for Brentford, but the ball played across from Rico Henry, gets away from Lewis Potter, and then it's played back towards the goalkeeper by Steve Cook. Long clearance from Dean Henderson up towards the halfway line, headed forward by Ben Mee. It's a fight for it there between Aurier and Henry. Loose ball drops to Josh Da Silva, but his first thought is to go back as he was being pushed there all the way by Brennan Johnson. And David Raya wearing the captain's armband for Brentford this afternoon. Just leaves the ball now for Ben Mee. 11 minutes on the clock. It is goalless. It's also goalless between Man City and Fulham, but there have been goals in the other two games. Leeds 1-1 with Bournemouth, and Wolves a goal down at home to Brighton. Brentford on the left again here with Rico Henry. That's really poor. He got a pass from Keane Lewis Potter. That, I mean, it was a 2-yard pass from Keane Lewis Potter to Rico Henry, and he somehow managed to let it go under his foot.
Yeah, to be fair to Rico Henry, if I'm going to defend him, Lewis Potter sort of runs past him and then doesn't know what he's doing, and in the end just sort of looks to his left, passes it to Henry. I don't think Henry was expecting the pass, which is why he's not controlled it. But as you say, it was only a couple of yards away from him. He should be doing better there, the full-back. And I just feel, you know, with Lewis Potter, he just looks like a player who's lacking confidence. I know he's not been starting a lot of games since he's arrived from Hull City, but it was quite a big money move, wasn't it? And I think that Brentford fans did expect a bit more from him, because he was producing really good numbers in the Championship.
He was. I think that there is a little bit of frustration among some Brentford fans that perhaps Thomas Frank doesn't change enough about the team. I mean, you'd argue that Mikkel Damsgaard, signed from Sampdoria, has barely had any time on the pitch either, and he comes to West London with a real pedigree as well. But we'll break off from that, because Brentford lose possession of midfield. Here comes Emmanuel Dennis now for Forest, running all the way into the penalty area. What a run this is from Dennis, and he hits the deck. The Forest players asking the question about a penalty. Andre Mariner, at least live, saying there's nothing doing, waves it away, and Brentford can bring the ball out. But you can be sure that the VAR officials at Stockley Park are pressing rewind already, just to make sure there was no foul there. There potentially could have been. Just looking at it live, I wasn't too sure. It seemed like the way he fell was a little bit awkward, as Brentford now win themselves a free kick on the right-hand side. And straight away the Forest players all pointing to that Brentford penalty area, saying, ref, make sure that VAR check everything before we resume. And it's not ideal that our picture's just momentarily frozen here as the ball comes in. I tell you what, Matthias Jensen has tried to win the ball there, and I'm not sure that he gets too much of the ball at all. Does he get any of the ball at all is the question.
I'll be surprised if this isn't overturned. I mean, it doesn't look as if there's much in the way of VAR review, and we've continued. But
yeah, we're back on the way.
I think Jensen's going to be getting away with that, because Dennis had lost control of the ball, Paul. I think more than anything, because the contact on Dennis was clear there.
He swept with his left foot, and he hasn't got the ball. So I'm quite surprised actually that VAR didn't ask perhaps just play to be halted a second or two longer. But yeah, I'm sure that Forest will be seeing the replay on their iPads, on their in their bench, I should say, and they'll be very frustrated. But here comes Gibbs-White, and he gets the ball away from Yannick. Gibbs-White into the penalty area, shooting opportunity straight at Raya. It's clipped away by Ben Mee with an overhead kick, and then Yannick volleys it clear. But Forest getting very close to taking the lead there on 40 minutes. It's back on the halfway line. McKenna heads it forward, and Neco Williams now down the left-hand side. He runs straight into Mbeumo, but Forest still have possession here with Emmanuel Dennis. Brentford can't stop him. Dennis's ball into the box. It almost gets through to Johnson. Ben Mee with a slide challenge before eventually Yannick is brought down at the edge of his own penalty area, and Brentford will be very happy to hear that it's a free kick to them.
Desperate defending from Brentford, but that's come out of nothing really. This Nottingham Forest attack. Brennan Johnson flicks it on originally, and then Morgan Gibbs-White does really well to nip there ahead of Jensen. He slides in Brennan Johnson, who's onside really well, and I just feel like Johnson, instead of going across Raya there, should be trying to smash it in at the near post. It's a bit of a tame effort from Johnson in the end. It's a comfortable save for David Raya in the position that Johnson's in. I feel he's just lacking that.
Has he missed kicks here?
Yeah, he's sort of kicked it into the floor, isn't he?
I thought initially he was trying to lift it like that, but now when I see that replay from the other angle, it looks to me as though he didn't quite make the contact with the ball that he wanted. But Brentford restarted play. They've lost possession almost immediately. Here come Forest again now with Ryan Yates under a bit of pressure now, going back towards Remo Freuler. And now it's on the left-hand side now with Emmanuel Dennis, who's already been involved 2 or 3 times here for Forest early on. And just a bit of a wave for the home side now. Perhaps the last couple of attacks have just made them grow in confidence a little bit. Brentford now struggling to get the ball away from their own half as Steve Cook steps forward, switches play over towards the left-hand side. That's good work from Ruslev just to make sure it goes out for a throw because Dennis was all ready to turn him. Dennis then going back towards the edge of the area. There's going to be a strike coming in as well. It's straight at David Raya, though. He's not going to be too worried about that one. The Brentford goalkeeper, the effort there from Neco Williams. But he is a right-footer playing on the left-hand side, so if he gets the chance on that left-hand side, you always expect him to have a go. But the ball straight at Raya. And Brentford now just need to compose themselves a little bit in midfield. Yeah,
they do. And just interesting you mentioned that about Neco Williams. I wonder if that's something from Steve Cooper that's trying to sort of counter Mbeumo, because he cuts in quite a lot, of course. And then if Neco Williams can, with your right-footed player, Mbeumo's going to cut into his left foot, so that's kind of to perhaps counteract Mbeumo cutting in. It's an interesting tactical thing, but it's something that he also done against Mohamed Salah with Neco Williams when Nottingham Forest beat Liverpool. So it's good sort of managerial tacticianish from. It is.
It certainly is. Steve Cooper is, a very sort of detailed manager, and you'll certainly feel as though he's paid his apprenticeships in terms of getting into a position where he's managing a Premier League team. You've got to remember as well that when he took over Forest, they were in all kinds of trouble at the bottom of the Championship, so he really has turned things around impressively here. But Forest have had 3 efforts in this game, and all 3 of them have been on target. Brentford with just the 1 effort, and that was off target. So things are looking better now for Forest after 16 minutes. It's also looking better for Manchester City. Julian Alvarez has put City 1 up against Fulham, so that just leaves our game as being the only one that is still goalless from the 3 o'clock kickoffs this afternoon. And it's a throw on to Brentford now down the right-hand side as Mbeumo was stopped there by Neco Williams. As Ben pointed out, it's probably, especially on that left-hand side today, trying to stop the left-footer Mbeumo trying to cut in too much. As I say, need to see a little bit more end product from Mbeumo. I haven't seen too much in the last few games. Scored that brilliant goal against Manchester United, but has been lacking a little bit in the last few weeks as Brentford themselves have struggled to pick up any kind of consistency. Long ball down the right-hand side here for Forest, but that is out for a throw to Brentford. Ethan Pinnock just having to check his laces there. There's also been a bit of a problem for Brentford in terms of injuries. They're currently missing Tony with a suspension, but of course Pontus Jansson still waiting to get back into the side. He's had a bit of an injury problem as well. Christopher Ayer's been in and out of fitness himself. But Brentford now down the left-hand side here with Rico Henry in towards Keane Lewis Potter. He's got Aurier for company. Aurier gets a foot in and he manages to get it away from Lewis Potter. Then Henry plays the ball back towards Pinnock, which actually is behind his teammate there. But Pinnock still gets to it and goes back towards Raya. Square now towards Ben Mee, but from Forest's point of view, they don't want to be backing off too much because the last few minutes have shown that they can actually win the ball off Brentford if they could just try and press a little bit higher.
I think Forest have started the opening 18 minutes of his game, Paul, the better side, to be fair. I mean, Brentford had that one little chance, didn't they, when Mbeumo got in behind and pulled it back. But other than that, I mean, every time Forest are on the ball, they look a lot more comfortable. I'd say that they've just put it along and given the ball back to Brentford, but Forest look the more comfortable on the ball at the moment. Brentford, they've given the ball away, in some sloppy positions, and defensively they've been left found wanting at times. So I think Steve Cooper will be the happier of the 2 managers so far.
I think he will. I think he'd say that his side, as you mentioned, that have just got a little bit more positivity about them, and also the fact that they've actually generated something with their possession, whereas Brentford, although they've actually had more of the ball, haven't really done too much with it. And seeing more evidence of that now as they're just swapping 10, 11 passes deep inside their own half here. Centre-backs just swapping passes before eventually the ball played back to Raya. He's been closed down here by Emmanuel Dennis, but Raya's long ball over the top is nodded straight back towards the Brentford penalty area. Here is Johnson now, drops the shoulders. Johnson with the strike, and Forest take the lead on 19 minutes. And it's actually Gibbs-White with the efforts into the back of the net, but it's Forest with the goal on 19 minutes. It was all too easy. Brentford clear up towards the halfway line. It's played straight back to Morgan Gibbs-White. Brentford couldn't close him down, and he puts it into the back of the net.
Well, he's a big money signing from Wolverhampton, wasn't he, Morgan Gibbs-White? And a lot of people were questioning that price tag, but he's just proved exactly why the price tag is there, because of the quality he's got. What a bit of individual brilliance. He's picked the ball up about 25, 30 yards from goal. A neat little ball roll. It's a poor clearance of David Raya originally, but this is what I was saying. Nottingham Forest at the moment, they just seem to want the ball more. Brentford don't really seem to be up for the fight so far. It's a lovely little ball roll from Gibbs-White, and then he smashed a finish into the far corner, about 20 yards from goal. Great finish, and Nottingham Forest take the lead, and deservedly so.
Well, it's a great strike from Gibbs-White. Brentford were sort of asking the question about potentially whether Emmanuel Dennis was coming back from an offside position when he won that header for Gibbs-White, but not seeing anything from a VAR at the moment, so it looks to me as though there's a big deflection as well, it has to be said, as Gibbs-White gets this ball at the edge of the area, drops a shoulder, and it takes a big deflection off the boot of Ben Mee, but we've certainly seen 5 or 6 replays of the goal now, so in that time you would imagine that VAR would have checked to see if there was any issue of offside. There is no offside, so the game has resumed. Forest lead by a 1-0. They'll argue that it's perhaps justice because there was a pretty decent shout for a penalty earlier for Forest anyway, and they've had more of the chances early on, so this is now a wake-up call if they didn't need one already for Brentford to really get into this game now.
I see the Brentford players there, about 3 or 4 of them, Paul, wasn't it, holding the hand up for offside, but they were like statues there, especially now you've got VAR. You just got to play yourselves to the whistle, because, I mean, look at the space that Dennis had to bring that ball down and pass it into Gibbs-White, because the Brentford players were just sitting off, holding their hands up for offside. I don't think that's good enough at this level, to be honest, and I'm sure that will really disappoint Thomas Frank in the manner they've conceded that goal and the manner they've started this game, as Bournemouth have taken the lead at Ellen Road.
They have, yeah. Phil Billing, as you said, has just given Bournemouth the lead. So 2 of the 3 newly promoted sides having a very good afternoon so far. Forest ahead against Brentford, and Bournemouth were a goal down away at Leeds inside the first 5 minutes, and now after 22 minutes they're actually 2-1 up. So Gary O'Neill still working his magic there at the Vitality. But Thomas Frank needs to work his magic here. His side have looked, very ordinary, is putting it politely. They've just not really been good enough with the amount of possession that they've had. They've not created enough with it, and on the occasions that they've lost the ball, their defence has been far too open. But Forest playing out from the back here as Henderson finds Aurier. Aurier then plays the ball into Gibbs-White, who fires one down the right-hand side here, and Johnson is chasing that one. Pinnock wins it, then Pinnock is tripped, and eventually it's young Brennan Johnson that's given the free kick away. And it is going to be a chance here for Brentford to clear their lines. Johnson very frustrated with that decision, but Pinnock using his experience there, he just got his body in front of the ball and almost forced Johnson to foul him there, really. It
was good defending for me from Pinnock, because he was never really going to win the foot race with Brennan Johnson. He's a very quick young man, Brennan Johnson, but as you say, Pinnock used his big frame just to get in the way and draw the foul, and in the end it was a foul because there was 2 hands in the back on Pinnock, and it was good defending there from the Brentford number 5, but I feel like Brentford just needs to get a foothold of his game right now, because Nottingham Forest have got their tails up. They look really, positive on the ball. As Brentford to take a quick throw in.
They do, and some space here for Mbumo down the right-hand side. He gets the ball into the penalty area. He's looking for the run of Wissa, perhaps asking just a little bit too much of Yoan Wissa there, as that ball is quickly cleared out by Scott McKenna. Brentford still with a chance here with a throw down the right-hand side, and we know that Brentford have a couple of long throw specialists, Pinnock and Jensen. And it's Matthias Jensen who's stepped forward here, although he's not taking much of a run-up. So this may all be for show. It is indeed. It's just a short throw here to Mbumo. Then the ball goes back to Jensen, but it's a lofty ball into the penalty area. Easily dealt with by McKenna. Picked up here in midfield by Rico Henry. Over towards Roslev on the left-hand side. Roslev to Keane Lewis Potter. Brentford won a free kick for the foul on Roslev. Referee not interested. Forest back in possession, and they clear it up towards the halfway line. We've gone over the halfway point in this first half. 23 minutes gone. It is Forest 1, Brentford 0, and it will be Ben to take us through to half-time.
Yeah, Nottingham Forest have a lead at the City Ground, and something that's been familiar to them this season. It's the waveform of Forest that's really meant they've plummeted at the bottom of the Premier League table. As I mentioned before, the start of this game, 8 out of 9 points that they've picked up have come at the City Ground, so it's been a happy home for them so far in the Premier League this season. And Buemo is met with a really, really good tackle there from Scott McKenna. Really forceful tackle from the Nottingham Forest centre-half, and he's also won the throw-in as well, which Brian and Bremo isn't very happy about. But Nottingham Forest at the moment have really got a bit between their teeth. They've come out fired up and up for this game, and I just think they want it more than Brentford at the moment.
Well, they started off slowly, but they sort of grew in confidence when they realised that Brentford enjoying a lot of possession didn't actually mean very much. It was just a lot of passing with not much end product in the final third. And Forest on 1 or 2 occasions have won a bit of a loose ball in midfield and actually found that they've got some space in front of the Brentford goal. And as you said now, but I would be more expectant of a second Forest goal in this half than a Brentford equaliser as it stands now, because Forest have definitely got their tails up.
Brentford held down off the ball with their goalkeeper David Raya, the Spanish international, and he finds Ethan Pinnock. And as you say, Nottingham Forest is happy to let Brentford have the ball here, because Brentford's not really doing much with the ball, and they've not done much with the ball in this opening 25 minutes. That's why they're trailed. They haven't really created anything apart from that one sort of situation where Brian and Bremo got in behind, but he couldn't pick the right ball to Yoan Wissa. And Nottingham Forest, of course, took the lead through Morgan Gibbs-White. Elsewhere, Bournemouth leads by 2 goals to 1. They've come from behind there at Ellen Road after Leeds scored an early Rodrigo penalty. Manchester City lead Fulham by a goal to 0 at the Etihad. And Wolves are 1-1 with Brighton. They did trail 1-0, but they did equalise through Guedes at Molineux. As a long ball's played forward here, looking for Yoan Wissa, and I think it's put behind for a corner by Sergio, and it was. So it was a good ball there from Ethan Pinnock. Really good long ball, actually.
It was, yeah. There's a couple of options there for Brentford down that left-hand side. And I think with Wissa and Henry just on the Forest defender's tail there, he had to do something to make sure that the risk was taken care of. Puts it out for a corner kick. So a good chance now for Brentford to try and get a ball into the box. It's going to be right-footed Jensen from the left-hand side.
Brentford have got a lot of height in the box right now, and Ethan Pinnock, Ben Mee. Ben Mee's also recently scored as well for Brentford, and he'll be looking to get another one here if he can. As it's played short, and Buemo's left-footed ball in. Not a bad one at all. Oh, and it was met by Ethan Pinnock, but he couldn't quite get full contact on it. And Lewis Potter can keep it alive. He's under pressure from Nico Williams, and Potter has Wissa in support, and then the ball finds its way out. Good defending from Ryan Yates, and out for a Nottingham Forest goal kick just to relieve some of that pressure. The ball's with Dean Henderson, the former Manchester United loanee, of course. But yeah, it's been a real struggle at the moment for Thomas Frank's side.
It has.
A real poor ball out there from Steve Cook, and Brian and Bremo can pick the ball up. Just so I say that, and Bremo just seems to have shifted over to the left wing for now. Perhaps him and Lewis Potter have swapped wings to try something different. Manchester City seem to have picked up a red card. Paul.
They have, yeah. City actually had the ball in the net for 2-0, but John Stones was judged to have been offside. So they didn't even go to VAR. I think it was just confirmed that it was offside. Now we've just heard that João Cancelo has been shown a straight red for aggressive play. So just as we say that, though, a ball over the top here from the left-hand side back at the City ground. And Dennis was chasing that one, and Raya will be delighted that that penalty area is as big as it is, because it meant that he could actually catch the ball just as Dennis was looking to try and shoot himself.
Yeah, David Raya just looked unsure at the last second here. Looked like his ball was going to be all the way, and then Dennis was getting closer and closer. But as you say, Raya just about nips ahead of him, and now the ball's with Ruslev, and Brentford look to get forward and create something. Vitaly Janelt now for Brentford. He finds Lewis Potter, who has gone over to that right wing, and him and Wissa combine well. And now Lewis Potter looks to deliver towards him. His cross is blocked by Nico Williams and swept up well by Freuler, who can pick the pass to Ryan Yates. Now Ryan Yates looks to get Nottingham Forest going on the counter-attack. Nico Williams finds Chechu Kiate, the former Crystal Palace midfielder, and he's brought down by keen Lewis Potter. It was Emmanuel Dennis, in fact, was brought down by Lewis Potter, and I think it's going to be a free kick to Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, free kick to Nottingham Forest. That João Cancelo red card came with a penalty for Fulham as well. We're just getting word that Fulham have scored that penalty. So that's things have really been taken up a notch at the Etihad. City gone from thinking they were 2 up to being 1-1 and down to 10 men as well. So Marco Silva's Fulham that have caused a few surprises, a few upsets already this season, potentially could be causing another one today.
Wow, and Sanchez Pereira who converted the penalty to former Manchester United man. As David Raya comes a long way off his line and just about judges the bounce of the ball. The ball's almost bounced over the goalkeeper's head there. He's not the tallest of goalkeepers, David Raya, but he did get a very good spring, to be fair to him. He heads it behind, out for a throw-in.
It's not his... I would say that shot stopping is his best trait, I think, as a goalkeeper. Crosses and judging through balls like that isn't probably Raya's strongest suit, but he did well there to make sure at least it went out of play. And Janelt now trying to get the ball away here for Brentford, and I think he's managed to win his side a throw-on. But it's looking tough here for Brentford. They just can't seem to get that midfield going at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment, all 3 nearly promoted sides. And, well, none of them are trailing. Bournemouth are winning away at Leeds. Nottingham Forest, of course, are winning on this commentary at home to Brentford by a goal to 0, and now Fulham have just equalised away at the Etihad at Manchester City. So it's a good day for the newly promoted sides in the Premier League this season. A long throw-in from Ruslev, flicked on by Lewis Potter, and now really good work there from Yoan Wissa. Can he switch the play to Brian Bremo? He can, but Sergio Aurier nips in ahead there of Bremo, and he knocks it back towards his goalkeeper, Dean Henderson. Dean Henderson knocks clear up towards Emmanuel Dennis. Dennis just about gets there ahead of Ruslev. Done really well there, Dennis, but it's really poor work from Rico Henry there, and Brennan Johnson can pick the ball up, and now he looks for Ryan Yates in behind. Ryan Yates on side. Oh, a little slight push there from Josh Da Silva. Yates is furious. He's claiming it should have been a penalty. It was a slight push, and I think Andre Marin is saying that
he's going to say wait here. I think he doesn't want to make the decision there and then, but I think VAR are certainly going to have a look at this one. We'll have a look as it's the one arm across from Da Silva. The question, I suppose, is whether or not that push from Da Silva alone is going to be adjudged to be enough for a penalty. I think if that's on the halfway line, the referee probably wouldn't give a free kick because he'd say that there is contact, but is there enough to say that it's a foul? On the other hand, if you put your arm on the back of a player and then push him over, I think there's always a risk, but I think VAR will say that there wasn't enough contact.
Yeah, VAR have agreed with you there, Paul. They did have a look at it, though. We just see the television pictures.
They did, yeah.
He had about 3 or 4 looks at that VAR, but he didn't even advise Andre Mariner to go over and look at the monitor, so they were happy that he'd made the right on-field decision. There was a handball decision there against Vitaly Yana, which he's furious about, but again, it's another Nottingham Forest free kick, and the game's just a bit stop-starty at the moment, but I think that favours Nottingham Forest. They're the team in the lead, Paul.
Well, it does, yeah. They're in the ascendancy right now, and I think, Yana was unhappy about getting booked there, but he knows what he's doing. The ball's getting away from him, and it's that human reaction rather than that footballer reaction. I've got to stop the ball, and just puts his arm out instinctively there. But as I say, there was a deliberate handball, so I don't think he can argue with it too much.
As I say, Yana the first into Andre Mariner's book for the afternoon, and Nottingham Forest can get us going again with Steve Cook, the former Bournemouth man. He kicks long, but it's not a very good one. But Ethan Pinnock didn't get a shout from David Raya there, and Brentford have put themselves into danger again. This time it's Morgan Gibbs-White on his left foot, and he shoots straight at David Raya. But Brentford, again, architects of their own downfall. Just a lack of communication. It was a hopeless long ball from Steve Cook. Pinnock could have just let it roll through into his goalkeeper, but this time, he obviously hasn't had a shout. Pinnock tries to head out wide to Rico Henry. Henry tries to head it back to Ethan Pinnock, which wasn't on. Then Brennan Johnson finds Gibbs-White. Gibbs-White dances onto his left foot and shoots straight at David Raya. But what are Brentford doing defensively, Paul?
Gibbs-White is getting an absolute earful from Kouyaté, who was in an even better position. He was expecting a square passer to just really smash it towards goal. In the end, Gibbs-White goes through it with the left foot, and it's an easy save for Raya. So whilst Brentford have been terrible at the back there, you could say the Forest haven't really punished them enough for that.
No, they haven't, and it's only 1-0, and whilst it's 1-0, the game is very much still alive. But Nottingham Forest at the moment, they look the more likely because Brentford are just gifting chances away, and you can't really be afford to doing that when you're trailing. As Dennis and Ruslev tangle there, and Andre Mariner has given it the way of the Brentford man this time, and says Dennis was initiated that contact, and it's going to be either a Brentford free kick or is it a Brentford throw-in he's given?
It's a good signing, I think, for Forest. Emmanuel Dennis. He looked good for Watford last season in a side that didn't look good at all for most of last season. Watford really struggled, but Dennis scored a couple of really important goals, a couple of really good goals as well, and I think he fits into this Forest front line very well. And as you see today, he's getting involved. He's a technical player, but he's also very physical.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Dennis, isn't it? Even if he's not scoring goals, he's always involved in the game. He works so hard for the team, and players like that, especially when you're struggling, they're just so,
managers and fans alike appreciate effort, don't they? I think that the worst is that player that always stands there, hands on his hips, upset about not getting the perfect pass, whereas the player that goes forward. Meanwhile, Brentford have caused themselves problems here, and it's big back to Gibbs-White.
Oh, David Raya was off his line, but Gibbs-White again picks the wrong pass there. Surely the shot was on this time for him. It opened up, and David Raya was off his line, but he just tried to play it one more out wide towards Emmanuel Dennis. The attack got away, and Brentford are going to get a throw-in. But
yeah, well, I'll tell you what, if you could have timeouts in football, Brentford will be calling one right now because they need to do something here just to try and get a handle on what's happening in midfield. And it's still getting a little bit too easy here for Forest at times. And if anything, Forest could be frustrated that they haven't had a better effort on goal since they since they took the lead, I should say. Just to tell you as well that there is a penalty for Wolves in the game against Brighton. But we'll see this again. I have to say that Yates probably had a chance of winning that penalty if it wasn't for the fact that the fall was very theatrical. I think it's the fact that he's screaming as he's falling. He's almost getting ready to do a forward roll position. I think if he'd have just fallen a little bit more awkwardly and made it look as though it was a stronger push, I think he might have had half a chance there.
Yeah, I have to say, Da Silva, though, Yates was never getting on the end of that pass, Paul. Da Silva had his body between the ball and, the man, and with, touch the ball was about to find touch, and he puts his hand out there and pushes quite hard. It's just needless, really, isn't it? And if you give away a penalty there, especially at 1-0, it's just really silly, really, from De Silva, and he got away with it. Oh, as a nasty challenge comes in there from the Nottingham Forest captain Ryan Yates on Jensen, and I think he's been sent off as he has. And it'd be interesting to see this again, Paul, because me and you both said at the time.
Oh, no, it's a yellow. I take it back. It looked to me as though the way he was reacting here, it looked to me as though he'd been sent straight off here. But no, it's a yellow card, and Yates is actually furious about that. But I'll tell you what, VAR may want to have a look at this in terms of a straight red card. We'll see the replay here as De Silva plays the ball out. He's not good. He's caught Jensen quite.
It's not good. I don't. It's a really. I don't think it's high enough for a red card. I reckon VAR will have a look at this, but I don't think it will be given. I don't think it will be a red card. I think a yellow card is fair, and I think they've agreed with us. Yeah,
they've restarted play now, so it's just a yellow card there for Ryan. It's apologies, but the fact that he exploded in the way that he did, and they didn't show us the referee initially, did look to me as though he'd been sent off. But Ruben Neves has converted the penalty for Wolves, so Wolves now lead 2-1 against Brighton. And Forest lead against Brentford by a goal to nil here in this game. City 1-1 with Fulham. City down to 10 men, and Leeds still trailing at home to Bournemouth by 2-1.
Yeah, there's plenty of goals coming across the Premier League this afternoon.
That's right, Brentford are the only team that haven't scored yet this afternoon.
Yeah, they are, and hopefully Thomas Frank will be hoping to change that in the 10 minutes that remain of this first half, and of course the second 45 minutes as Janelt kicks long there, and it's a poor long ball, and that's just out of frustration and just a lack of sort of creativity there from Brentford, and a lack of patience as well. He didn't really need to kick long, and in the end it was too straight and too easy, too floated and straight into the arms of Dean Henderson, who will just keep the ball in his hands for as long as he can and then pick his pass and keep Nottingham Forest on the ball, because Nottingham Forest for 36 minutes of his game so far have been all worth their 1-0 lead, as Brentford have a throw in with Ethan Pinnock, and he finds David Raya. David Raya, now the Spanish goalkeeper, back to Pinnock, and Brentford will just knock the ball about. Nottingham Forest will sit in their shape and let them have the ball, as Ryan Yates puts Janelt under a bit of pressure there. But Yates got to be careful now, of course. He's into the referee's book, as is Vitaly Janelt, the Brentford midfielder. Both yellow carded, of course, in this opening half. And here's Jensen now on the ball for Brentford. Not much ahead of him, though. Not much movement at all. And he has to go out wide to Raslev, who goes to Ben Mee, to Pinnock, and it's just sideways at the moment for Brentford. Not a lot going forward. Pinnock plays it into Jensen. Jensen again is forced to go long. Looks for Rico Henry in behind Sergio Aurier. Aurier does well there, even though he slipped. He recovered really well.
Brilliant from Aurier, because it almost looked like he used the slip to try and then quickly get onto the ball, and he worked very well from it. Here come Forest now down the left, although the pass to Dennis actually turns out to be a good one from Gibbs-White.
Yeah, really good work there from Morgan Gibbs-White, and Dennis looks to return the favour with a cross into him, but it's blocked by Raslev and out for a Nottingham Forest throw-in. But around about 8 minutes left of his half, and it's imperative that Brentford don't fall further behind, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and you certainly wouldn't rule it out at this stage. Brentford haven't looked very good in defence at all, and there's confidence about the way Forest move forward. And we're seeing a replay of this again. Aurier loses his footing. Henry trying to take advantage of it, and Aurier just flicks the ball up and gets it away from him. He almost looks like he meant to do it.
That was brilliant, that, wasn't it? I mean, it's harsh to say that he didn't mean it, but he's not even looking at the ball, and he's sort of like a scorpion kick on the floor over Rico Henry. It's really good work there from Sergio Aurier, and really good work there from Brennan Johnson, who I believe has won a corner kick. It did look like a close one, but I think it's just gone behind for a corner, and it has. A corner to Nottingham Forest then. Going to be delivered with an in-swinger, I believe. Probably you'd expect Morgan Gibbs-White. He takes the majority of the set pieces for Nottingham Forest. Their first corner of the afternoon, incidentally, and they've got quite a lot of players around that 6-yard box, especially at the back post, on the goalkeeper David Raya. They're all making runs now. Gibbs-White's in-swinging ball towards McKenna, punched away really well by David Raya, and met by Keane Lewis-Potter, who's been brought down by Emmanuel Dennis. Has he? Yes, he has, and he wins a free kick. Good work there from the English youngster Keane Lewis-Potter. He's been part of the England setup for quite a while, played throughout all the youth age groups. Of course, not made his senior debut, but perhaps in a few years, maybe if he can get a good good run of form going.
Well, he'll certainly feel as though he's got the right sort of grounding for it with the as I say, the experience he's had at under 21s. He was a very important player for Hull City. Hasn't quite had the time on the pitch for Brentford that he would have been looking for, but say he's in the starting lineup today. He's had a couple of good moments, but really it's been a long while since we've seen anything that you could describe as even a partial attack here from Brentford. They really have struggled to get on the ball.
Brentford missing their main man, of course, as Paul mentioned earlier on. Ivan Toney suspended, serving his 5th yellow card of the season, so he's suspended. Without, of course, Pontus Jansson, Aaron Hickey, Christian Norgard as well, of course. These are all key players for Brentford, all missing. I mean, and it looks as if they are missing perhaps 1 or 2 characters on the pitch, and Yoan Wissa, he's not quite got the same impact that an Ivan Toney would have on this team, and Yoan Wissa puts Szczerbakowicz under some pressure, and he does well, and he perhaps might have won a throw-in as well there, as Yoan Wissa, but I think it's been given Nottingham Forest's way, and it has, and Szczerbakowicz is going to be taking his throw-in. 39.5 minutes played at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest 1, Brentford 0. Leeds trail 2-1 at Ellen Road to Bournemouth. Manchester City 1-0 and down to 10 men at Etihad Stadium against Fulham. Jao Cancelo's been sent off there, and Wolves have come from behind to lead at Molineux by 2-1, of course, with their new manager somewhere in the stands today, Lopetegui. It's a good appointment that for Wolves, isn't it?
I think so. I think, yeah, there's experience there, and said they obviously felt as though they needed somebody with just that little bit more pedigree just to try and settle things down, and already the fact that his presence is there, I think, is already having an impact on the game this afternoon. But with 5 minutes to go here, Brentford back in possession inside their own half, but they just can't find a way out to try and form an attack here for the time being. Well, that's a good long ball for potentially Mbeumo to chase, but there's just too much on it.
Yeah, Mbeumo and Wissa and Lewis Potter have all switched around again, and Mbeumo's now playing on that right-hand side. Keno's Potter back onto that left-hand side. It was a really good incisive pass there, wasn't it, from Jensen? But Brentford, as you say, just haven't really got a lot going forward at the moment. The midfield three is struggling to get on the ball, and at the moment it's the defenders that are just having to go long towards one of the front three. It's a poor clearance there, though, from Nottingham Forest, and it finds Rico Henry to Lewis Potter. Keno's Potter now one-on-one with Steve Cook. Can he deliver something? He finds Jensen. Jensen back out to Lewis Potter. Potter here, opportunity to cross the ball in, and it's really overhit from Lewis Potter. Really poor there. It's the first time he's got a bit of space out wide and gets the ball into his left foot. It's a poor delivery from the young man. He's got to be doing better, hasn't he? He's
got to do so much better there, but particularly with Brentford struggling to get any kind of attacking possession in the last 15 or 20 minutes. When they finally do get a chance, he's got to do more to try and look at and pick out a teammate there. He had the space to do it. Forest take a long throw, and they're going to win themselves a free kick if Brentford get the ball anyway. So Jan out chasing that one. I'm very frustrated to hear the whistle. But Brentford need to hear the whistle. Brentford need to get into the dressing room at half-time. Only a goal down, and they've got to try and start again in the second half. Forest have got to take the positives from this first half, and actually perhaps Steve Cooper is going to give them a bit of a rocket for not being a bit more ruthless in the last 15 minutes.
Brentford, of course, winless in their last three. Both of these sides have only won one out of their last six, but Nottingham Forest's last win, of course, was their last home game against Liverpool. So it was a really good win, that, of course, for Nottingham Forest. But they've been their struggles on the road, as with Brentford, really. So when you look at this game on paper before today, you did fancy the home team would probably win this fixture just because of the struggles that Brentford have had away, yet to win away, of course, in the Premier League this season. But here comes Brian Mbeumo looking to change that. But really good work there from Nico Williams, the former Liverpool man, and he then clears off Brian Mbeumo and behind for a goal kick. Good work there from the young fullback.
Yeah, it is good work there from Williams. He did well, just to make sure the ball deflects off his opposite number and into the advertising boards. A couple of minutes to go before half time. And it's been a very, very good half from Nottingham Forest, as we're seeing another replay of the goal here. Raya sent a long ball up towards the halfway line. And there is a question of offside about Dennis, but it's all been checked and everything's fine. And really, the amount of space that Dennis has to just drop in, take a touch, then lay it off to Gibbs-White, who then takes 7 or 8 steps before he measures his shot and puts it into the corner. It's a great strike from Gibbs-White, but nobody's really trying to stop him. Perhaps we're being not paying him enough of a compliment, because the build-up to it was great. There was a big deflection on the effort as well, but so many things in that goal were avoidable from Brentford's point of view.
Yeah, the footwork was brilliant from Gibbs-White, but you see it again there. It's 3 or 4 Brentford players holding their hands up, asking the question of the offside, and then when Gibbs-White when they realise the offside flag's not gone up, Gibbs-White does take that ball, he moves in. There's 6 or 7 bodies around him, and no one's even trying to put a tackle in, put a block in, trying to even bring him down, perhaps, to avoid him getting a shot away. And I just feel like that's just a lack of sort of belief and lack of wanting it for Brentford, and that's going to worry Thomas Frank because at the moment Nottingham Forest are just first and second ball. But having said that, they've given the ball away poorly there, and then Bremo finds Wissa in behind. Can Wissa get ahead of the goalkeeper? He does. Is he brought down by Dean Henderson? Oh, I don't know. I think he might have slipped. I don't think Henderson did touch him. I think he done really well to make himself big there, but really good work from Brian and Bremo. And Yoan Wissa is asking the question of the referee, but I'm not quite sure he was brought down.
It didn't look to me like he was. Well, we'll see from this replay here when the ball was played over the top. Say the replay just flashed by quickly. They hope to get a second angle here. Well, I mean, Henderson's hand is out, but I suppose the question is whether that's enough to bring Wissa down. It's a similar sort of situation as with the Yates incident earlier. I mean, he does put his hand out, but he's trying to get the ball. I think that VAR will look at that and say that it's not enough in it. But Wissa, even after that slight contact, they are having a look at it because the arm comes out and he doesn't get the ball, Dean Henderson. So there is going to be a question mark about this.
I just feel like he's already going over, Paul. I don't know if that's going to save Dean Henderson, but if you look at it, he's already on his way down, isn't he, before that touch. But like you say, there is a touch there, and it's just a question of whether or not they feel like it's enough to bring Wissa down. Wissa has to swipe the ball on the floor after, doesn't he? Which almost
yeah, he does. I mean, this looks to me like it's the toss of a coin here. I wouldn't like to say. I'm still erring on the side that it probably isn't going to be a penalty, but it's the fact that Henderson has his hand out and he doesn't really try to get the ball. But he does get a bit of Wissa, and yeah, we're still not being able to restart play here. I can confirm that Brighton did equalise away at Molineux to make it 2-2, but now there's a VAR review.
Well, they seem to be checking the offside here, Paul. So if they're checking the offside, I presume the penalty is going to be given. It
looks like it, yeah. Well, the referee seems to be sort of walking. If it was going to be a goal kick to the Forest, I don't think the referee will be backing away towards the side as he is here. It may well be that he's going over to look at the monitor. One thing that really does frustrate me is how long it takes. But then having said that, it looks to me as though is this play going to be resumed here? I think it may well be. No, referee is going to have a look at this one, Andre Mariner. So with 2 minutes of injury time displayed, we're into that injury time now. And this experienced Premier League referee is going to have a look at this. And I think his question is going to be, first of all, how much contact there is with Henderson, how much intent there is from Henderson to go for the ball, and is Wissa already looking to try and go down? These are the things that the referee has to try and...
It's a 50-50 toss-up, Paul, isn't it? I mean, when you look at it again, Dean Henderson's absolutely furious, but... He's given it, and he's booked Dean Henderson, Andre Mariner, and I think the contact was enough. We've said it's a toss of a coin, and it would have been harsh either way, I think. But I do, Wissa, is he already going down? But then you've got to just give the benefit of the doubt to the attacker in this situation. He has he's beat Henderson's the ball. He's knocked it round him. Henderson's glove, there is contact with his hand on the shin of Wissa. Nottingham Forest are absolutely furious. 6 or 7 players around.
If I could lip read and censor what Dean Henderson is saying, I think he's trying to basically say that he actually got a touch on the ball. So he feels as though anything that happens after that is out of the question. But Brentford have a fantastic record from the spot. Admittedly, 90% of that is down to Ivan Toney himself. But there have been a few other penalty kick takers that have kept that long run of penalties not missed by the Bees. And this really is a gift for Brentford. They've been poor. They've been very poor in this first half. And they've got a great chance to equalise it now. We'll see if it's De Silva or indeed Mbeumo who's going to be taking this penalty. Yeah,
it's like as you've mentioned, Paul, this is an absolute lifeline for Brentford. On the stroke of half-time, it's going to be Brian and Mbeumo to take this penalty against Dean Henderson. You've mentioned how good Brentford have been from the spot, but how good is Dean Henderson, reading these situations? He's already saved a few penalties this season, so it is going to be a real interesting scenario here. Brian and Mbeumo against Dean Henderson. Henderson, can he become the hero after being a zero, really? He gave the penalty away.
Well, I mean, it's to say that Forest will be absolutely fuming about this. Steve Cooper will be absolutely fuming about this. But Brentford, with this great chance now, we're well over the 2 minutes of injury time. We're probably going to have another couple of minutes once this penalty's been taken. But it's Mbeumo up.
And Mbeumo versus Henderson sends Henderson the wrong way and converts the penalty into the bottom corner. And Brentford, against the run of play, have levelled at the City Ground. A real cool penalty from the French international. Henderson absolutely furious. Andre Mariner still. He's got to be careful because he's already been yellow carded. He doesn't want to talk himself into a red card. But Brentford have levelled things here at the City Ground. Really good penalty from Mbeumo. Cool as you like. Little Jorginho-like, really, with the stutter. Henderson goes the wrong way. Mbeumo tucks it in the corner and takes the ball. Nottingham Forest 1, Brentford 1.
Yeah, the Forest fans behind the goal are fuming. This is probably the 20th time that we're being shown the replay of that foul on Wissa. And as I say, if the referee hadn't given a penalty there, we probably would have found just as much reason to say that it was the right decision. It's a very close one. Does Henderson get a thumb to the ball as he's trying to play it away from Wissa? Does it even matter? Has he got too much of Wissa in any case? But the goal is given, and we've probably still got around a minute of injury time to play here now. 1-1.
Yeah, and wow, Thomas Frank has just been handed a lifeline, and Brentford have been handed a lifeline because this game should not be 1-1. It's fair to say the Bees, well, they've stung Nottingham Forest right at the end of this half, haven't they? But they've not quite been anywhere near their level. But it's a rare away goal for them, an important away goal for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and that potentially could just derail Forest, although it could go both ways. Forest could see this as just fuel to their fire. Steve Cooper is probably going to try and diffuse the penalty and say to them, look, we've beaten this team already in the first half, don't worry about the penalty, go out there in the second half and do what you did in the first. But let's not speak too soon, because we've still got a bit of injury time to play, and Forest have won themselves a free kick on the left-hand side. It's very much within crossing range, and it's going to be whipped in here. A couple of Forest players standing over it.
Nico Williams and Gibbs-White round it. Gibbs-White's right foot delivery. It's a really good one. In fact, towards Ryan Yates, and cleared really well away by Rico Henry, and then Buemo flicks it on as well. As Andre Marino takes a first look at his watch, but I'm sure we're going to get probably about another minute left of this half. We had a few minutes, of course, with that VAR decision, and Gibbs-White leaves the ball to Nico Williams to take this throw. Nottingham Forest now putting the pressure back onto Brentford, and they're knocking the ball around now with Steve Cook, and Steve Cook under pressure from Yoan Wissa, and then has to hoof long towards Brennan Johnson. Johnson loses out on that battle with Rico Henry, but Henry can only find touch with his.
I tell you what, it's getting tasty at Molineux as well. Wolves are now 2-2 with Brighton after Brighton converted the penalty. Nelson Semedo has been shown a straight red card for that, for what led to that penalty. So it really is a very exciting afternoon in the Premier League in the 4 games being played so far.
Yeah, Brighton with a chance to take the lead there at Molineux. We've got a penalty, 2-2 as well.
Yeah, 2-2 penalties, as you said, and an unbelievable situation there now with Wolves thinking that they go into the break at 2-1 up, conceding on 44 minutes to make it 2-2, and now Brighton with a penalty to make it 3-2.
Crazy half there at Molineux, crazy half here at City Ground. Of course, there's been goals flying about everywhere across the Premier League, so a really dramatic bonfire up, fireworks going off, of course, on November 5th, so what else do you expect? As that's half-time at the City Ground, and Nottingham Forest, they'll feel hard done by. They took the lead for a deflected Morgan Gibbs-White effort, but Brentford levelled just before the break, thanks to a controversial penalty that was given away by Dean Henderson on Yoan Wissa, converted brilliantly by Brian and Buemo, and that's why the scoreline at the City Ground at half-time is Nottingham Forest 1, Brentford 1.